Yo guys, it's JJ here, and today I'm going to be taking you guys through a tutorial for Trippie Red's new album, Mansion Music. And of course, I am doing this video before the album drops, so I'm going off a snippet that I heard him and Chief Keef have, and it sounded pretty dope. It was a nice little glow beat, so I thought, you know what, let me do a little glow beat myself. And without further ado, let's get into this. First things first, we got ourselves a case of Expand 2, and I'm using a preset called Producer Brass from the Brass and Woodwind Bank. So as you can see for the pattern, very simple and straightforward, but I will walk you through it regardless. First thing that's important to see, as you can see from the first 4 bars, we've got ourselves a nice pattern going where I'm literally just using notes in tension apart from the last little part. And the reason I'm using notes in tension is because if you're ever making a dark glow beat, especially for Trippie Red and Chief Keef, you want to be using notes in tension. As you can see, these are just notes that are one pitch apart, or shall I say semitone apart, and I just made it very nice, basic, simple, just added a nice little stutter, and all I did for the second part was, you know, take it an octave higher and stack them really. So that's really it. Quite simple and straightforward, but very effective, as you guys will hear right about now. And there we have it, sounding very grand, very dark, and that's what we like. And as for the effects, keeping it super simple, just an EQ cutting off all the lows, and some Valhalla Vintage Verb, just to add some ambience to the mix. And real quick, I didn't stereo separate this at all because I wanted this to stick out in the melody, be right in your face, so that's why I didn't do anything. Next up, we got Expand 2 again, and I just cloned it over, so realistically, it's just a Producer Brass yet again. And all I did was just replay these root notes from the previous melody, but I'm adding a nice little bounce to them, as you guys can see with these notes here, these notes here, and just keeping it simple and straightforward. It just gives it a bit more energy, a bit more of that character. And as you can see, I've also clicked Control A, and I've maxed the velocity out just so it can be nice and triumphant. So without further ado, this is what the melody sounds like with the root notes added. And as you guys can hear, with the addition of these root notes, it sounds super more aggressive, even more energy being brought to the beat, and of course it will suit Chief Keef and Trippie Red style. But before we continue to the video, just make sure to like, subscribe, and comment down below. We're on the road to 1,000 subscribers, really pushing it for 2023, trying to stay ambitious, so appreciate all the support. And without further ado, now it's time to show you the mix. As for the mix, all you can see here, it's a very simple EQ, cutting off a few of the highs and all the lows out pretty much, so the bass can come in later. And then last but not least, I just stereo separated it around like 40%, just to widen the sound a bit. Next thing I did was I got another Expand 2 open, and I'm using a lead called the Resonating Lead from the Soft Lead Bank. And as you guys can see again, very simple, but honestly this is just how you make the best glow beats out there. I can't make this up. Following the same root notes over again, just laying the lead over it, but at a bit of a higher octave, so it cuts through the mix nicely and it doesn't really clash with the other frequencies of the previous brass. So this is honestly as simple as it gets, just following these root notes that are a semitone apart, keeping that dark vibe, and that's all it really is. But before I play this part, just know this lead is very common in glow beats, but it's super effective, and when you hear it now, you'll know exactly what lead I'm on about. It sounds a bit like a spooky one to say, but this is what it sounds like. And there we have it, even giving more energy, more of that dark little vibe. And again, Chief Keef and Trippie Red would go hard on this on that Mansion Music album. As for effects again, very simple EQ as you can see. And on top of that, a fair amount of reverb just to give it a bit more ambience for the lead. And off top of that, I did not stereo separate the sound at all because I really wanted this to be in the forefront of the mix. Next up, we got an instance of Nexus 3. And we're using a preset called the Full Spiccato, and it's from the Strings Bank. And as you guys can see, we're following the same melody as the original brass, and it's very simple again, just following these notes that are semitone apart, just a bit at a higher octave, as you guys can see here, between B5 and B6, just because we don't want it to be clashing with the frequencies on the lower octaves. And as you can see again, very simple pattern, and all I did was click Alt R as well to randomize the velocity of the strings, giving a bit of a human bounce. So without further ado, this is what the melody sounds like now. And there we have it, again, adding a nice little layer. And for effects, we got ourselves the EQ, cutting off a few frequencies we weren't a fan of, and of course all the lows. And on top of that, a fair amount of reverb. Then the last thing we did is we stereo separated the sound around 67%, just to widen it in the mix and keeping it nice within the balance of the whole beat. And now, last but not least, we got ourselves a preset from Analog Lab 5, and it's called Curve. And as you guys can see from the pattern, I've used this more of an accent rather than anything else, so I'll show you exactly what it looks like just from zooming in a lot. And by clicking the magnet tool and going on to half step, I just lay down these notes going up from the half step, as you can see, because tension, climbing all the way back up to the original root note, which is actually A sharp, but I don't know why my MIDI is acting weird. Then for the second part of the A bar, I just took it up an octave, just a bit of variety and giving that energy another level. So without further ado, this is what the melody sounds like. And there we have it, folks. Super hype, super dark, trippy vibe, Chief Keef vibe, but it's that mansion music. So let's get into these drums. First things first, of course, we've got ourselves the clap pattern, and as you guys can see, it's a very simple and basic one, but just for a slight bit of variation and bounce, I added this nice little extra note to create that bounce. Without further ado, this is what the clap pattern sounds like. Super simple, but super nice. And next up, of course, we got ourselves a hi-hat pattern, and I'll walk you guys through it right now. First thing first, to do with the hi-hat pattern, I go over to the magnet tool, click half step, and as you guys, from when I come down here, all I do is right click and drag until I reach this paint tool, and then I just click in these notes, as you guys can see, click and drag, and that's how I literally get my rolls going. And then, as for this little roll going on here, I went back to the magnet tool, take it to a quarter step, and again click and drag. And I really just did that again for a nice repeated 2-bar, and I just repeated it throughout the whole pattern because it just sounds hard. So without further ado, this is the drums. And there we have it. Now, next up, of course, we got ourselves the 808 pattern. And as you guys can see, we've got this nice little bounce going, but for a bit of variation, I thought, let me get this nice little roll over here. Then, of course, following the root notes, we just finished off the rest of the pattern, and then I just repeated it for the full 8-bar. But one thing you guys need to know is click Control A, and of course, use that scroller wheel to max your velocities. Doing so will make your 808s and your kick sound harder, and I repeat this in every video, but honestly, just do it. It's really worth it. So, without further ado, this is what the pattern sounds like now. And there we have it. Now next up, of course, you got the kick pattern, and all it does is follow the 808s really, and as well as that, we've maxed the velocities here too. So this is what the kick pattern sounds like now. And there we have it. The kick adds a nice little oomph to the 808, making it punch through the mix, and of course suiting that whole mansion music theme. And then, last but not least, to the drums. How can you not have a glow beat without excessive amounts of crashes? So of course I added quite a few, as you can see here, and the pattern really just repeats itself every 4-bar. And realistically, all I did was just lay the crash over an 808 because it just makes it hit twice as hard. And now, without further ado, it's time to hear the whole beat. And there we have it, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you very much for watching. I hope you guys have enjoyed this video. And of course, don't forget to like and subscribe. And without further ado, thanks for watching and take it easy. Peace.